Hi everyone. Today we're going to talk to you about how to obtain your Brazilian permanent residency through marriage reunification. We are a couple from Canada. We lived in Canada for 14 years. We have been together for 13 and a half years, and we decided to come to Brazil this year because we are married, and we are married in Canada, and then through marriage, because Mariana is Brazilian, I get the chance and the opportunity to apply for Brazilian permanent residency. We're going to talk about the process in this video and also the documents that you would need to have in order to complete your application. In the next video, we are going to give you some tips about the whole process and how to prepare the documents that you need to submit, and also a few things that you can avoid doing, because these were I wouldn't say mistakes, but they were the information that we didn't have at the time, and had we known about them, the process would have been much more smoother.
So the list of documents, we are gonna put the link in the description below of the video, so you can follow through the exactly like the link from the Polícia Federal, or the Federal Police here in Brazil. So in Brazil, the Polícia Federal, or Federal Police, they are responsible for all the foreigners in the country, to process them and make them legal in the country. So when you go apply for permanent residency as a foreigner, you have to prepare your application and submit it to Polícia Federal. So that's what we did. We arrived in Brazil end of May 2022. We went actually in person to the Polícia Federal here in Goiânia, and they gave us some informations about how to apply. For Goiânia, for the state of Goiás, like they accept all the documents being submitted by email. This is something that you have to check in other states that you are in Brazil, and how they want you to submit the documents. For us, everything was by email, all the communication was by email, and then there was only in the end of the application that you have to go in person. Everything else was through email. In the link that you can find at Polícia Federal, so you have the document checklist, and then I'm going to start talking about them. Since I was the one who applied who prepared the whole application and applied for my husband, and then he's going to also talk about things that for him he had to do it. But so let's go. The first document that they ask in the list of documents, or the checklist, is the PDF that you obtain after completing your application online. Actually, is just like for you to put your name, your parents' name, date of birth. So it's kind of to have to submit it, so you have a file number. In the end of that, you receive a PDF. So this is the first document that you have to attach to your application. The second document, or the second thing that they ask, is the picture, 3 by 4 centimeters, which is something that is standard here in Brazil, 3 by 4, that has to be colorful in a white background. So what we did at the time is that we just downloaded an application in our cell phones. If you go, you can find like a passport photo, you can search for it. There's an application, and then you just make sure that you're taking the picture like in a white background on the wall, and then you can also save that as a JPEG file format, and then also attach that to your application. Then there is declaration of address and contact information. So this is another PDF that you can download again from the link that there is the list of documents. So you print that, you can fill out all your information. They're gonna ask for address in Brazil, your email, the data that you arrived in Brazil, phone number, then you have to sign, you as the applicant, or in this case, Barry. He had to sign this declaration, so it's a way for them to communicate with the applicant. The other document they request is a copy of your passport or travel document if you don't have a passport, for people who arrived in Brazil with a travel document and no passport. So you can submit a copy of that, also PDF, for in our case through email. So you attach also a copy of your passport to the application. Then they ask for birth certificate or marriage certificate. Why? Because they say that if in your marriage certificate your parents or the name of the parents of the applicant is mentioned, so you don't need to prove that to provide the birth certificate, which in our case was very helpful because
we got married in Canada, and we got married in the state or in the province of Quebec, where when you get a marriage certificate from the province of Quebec in Canada, the name of my parents were already mentioned in that marriage certificate that was issued in Quebec. So that for us was very helpful, because when we came here in Brazil to register our marriage in Brazil as well, we didn't need to submit a copy or a translation of my birth certificate, because the name of my parents were already mentioned on our marriage certificate in Quebec.
The next document that they request is a copy of document from the citizen from Brazil that was born in Brazil or is already naturalized as Brazilian. In my case, I submitted a copy of my passport, the Brazilian passport. Then they ask also a declaration of or proof of address and a declaration that we both live in Brazil. We live in Brazil. So we sign a paper with the address where we were living, and then submitted also this document with the whole application. This is a declaration also that you can download from the link that where you can get all of this list of documents. And the last declaration that they ask is the declaration as if like you are proving that you are a couple. So they request a declaration of both parties that they are a couple, and both they have to sign that. So again, this is a declaration that you can download from the link that the Polícia Federal, you can find it, where you can find it. And then two other important things is you have to submit with your application already the proof of payment of the two fees that they request. In our case, we paid for 168 reais, and then another one was 204 reais. So the proof of payment of these two fees you also need to submit with your application. So these are the documents that they are requesting. Now we're going to talk about another one that actually they're the most important, and for us it's the ones that took the most. It was the police certificates. So here in Brazil, they request police certificates from the state, from Polícia Federal, and then from two institutions in the state of Goiás, in our case, because we are residing here, and Polícia Federal. So for the state of Goiás was Justiça do Estado de Goiás, Justiça Federal e Polícia Federal. So we had to submit these three police certificates. So these are the three police certificates that we have to provide from Brazil. We also need to provide police certificate from Canada. So this is how Barry is going to explain the process of getting the police certificate from Canada by not being in Canada.
Yeah, the thing is, I think the law says any country that you have lived in for the past 10 years, they require a police report from that country. So in our case, at least we were lucky because I only lived in Canada before coming to Brazil. So for us, we just needed a police report from Canada to show that there is no criminal record or anything for me. It is a little bit challenging if you're Canadian and you don't live in Canada. This is the area that is a little bit of a gray area, because when you arrive in Brazil, you need to have that police report from your previous country of residence. But then you have to be in Brazil to apply for the application. So this is where things get a little bit confusing. But anyway, once you submit, then you can request this police report. But in the next video that we're going to talk about the tips about the whole process. We're going to explain this in more details, how to go by it. We were lucky because we were planning to just go back to Canada for 1 or 2 weeks, I think, very quickly for some other things that we had to take care of. So when we went there, in Canada, this is how it works. You go to certain companies that are assigned by the Federal Police of Canada, or RCMP, Royal Canadian Mounted Police, and they collect your fingerprints digitally. There's no ink involved, or it's much cleaner than when you have to put the ink on your fingers. They collect your fingerprints, they send the fingerprints to the Federal Police or RCMP in Canada. They check your record, they prepare a report that you don't have any criminal record, then they send it to you. This is the document that you have to have from Canada in order to complete the police reports that Mariana was talking about for this part of the application. In the next video, as I mentioned, we will go into more details about this because there might be some tricky situations about that, and we'll give you all the tips.
Okay, then another very important thing in our case is that our marriage certificate, it's not from Brazil. So there is a step that you need to do before even coming to Brazil to apply. So when you are still in your foreign country, you have to go through the Brazilian consulate and request a transfer of marriage certificate. I'm translating, in português would be traslado de certificado da certidão de casamento. That it's actually what would be just like the Brazilian consulate in the foreign country saying that that marriage certificate that they are like analyzing there, it's real and it's registered with the government. So when they do that, they're gonna give you a PDF with a seal from the Brazilian consulate, and then stating all the information that it is in the marriage certificate, foreign marriage certificate. When you come to Brazil, then you come with your marriage certificate and you come with the paper from the Brazilian consulate. You can go to any cartório and then ask for the Brazilian marriage certificate. So you give them that paper that the Brazilian consulate gave you, and then with a copy of IDs from both parties and proof of address, so that proof that you are living in Brazil, so they can actually give you the Brazilian marriage certificate. But again, it's not gonna be exactly like all the other Brazilian marriage certificates. It's gonna come like it's written that is a transfer of marriage from one country to another country, but there is all the information that you would find in any other normal Brazilian certificate.
Basically, because you get married in another country outside of Brazil and you have the marriage certificate from your country of residence, you have to bring this document with you, the marriage certificate, and the other document that Mariana just explained that you obtained from the Brazilian consulate in that country. So this would allow you to basically register your marriage as a Brazilian marriage in the system, in the Brazilian system here. So they will have a record of your marriage in Brazil as well.
Yes. So this would be the list of documents that you need to gather and then to submit to Polícia Federal. Just a recap so that we don't miss anything. The first one, the application form that you have to fill out online. Then you go to obter autorização de residência, the link that you find again in the link that the Polícia Federal provides. And the PDF you put with your application. The picture 3x4 centimeters. The declaration of contact, so with all your means of contact, email, address, phone number. A copy of the passport from both of you, like in our case, me and Bahri. The police certificates, so from the state and country, like in Brazil, from the Justiça do Estado, from Justiça Federal, and Polícia Federal, and from any other country that you have lived in the past 10 years. So this we have to submit. Then a proof of address, so stating that you're living in Brazil. Then the marriage certificate, the Brazilian marriage certificate, the declaration of that you will live together as a couple, that you are a couple, signed by both parties, and the two fees that you need to pay. In our case, it was 168 reais and 204 reais.
So this was just a general video to give you an idea about how the process is. In the next video, we will talk about some more tips, and we go a little bit into details about some of these required documents that need a little bit of extra attention. So don't forget to watch the second video also, and if you like this video, if you find it helpful, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give it a like. We'll see you later.